Warning. This podcast contains spoilers and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
Scaredy Cat, have a scary chat. Scaredy Cat with Rob and Ash.
Welcome back to Scaredy Cat. I'm Robbie,
And I'm Ash.
and this is the podcast where one person who likes horror films
And someone else who doesn't.
and a third person who really, really likes Stephen King
Yeah, that's me, Matt.
talk about, review horror films. In this case, a Stephen King classic, The Shining.
Da 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 da. That's a theme music.
So Matt is an old friend from way back throughout the ages. We've watched horror films together, and you are also a huge Stephen King fan.
Yep,
In fact, I believe you have the entire collection.
all of them.
All of them,
And
even
special editions.
even the stuff written by Richard Bachman.
Yep.
So we watched this movie tons of times when we were kids. We could quote every line.
Yep.
Actually, you have not seen this film yet. Mostly of it.
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
But if you were to guess what this film is about, what do you think The Shining is?
The Shining?
Mm.
What year was it made?
1980.
1980?
1980.
All right. We're at the height of Flashdance?
And cocaine.
And cocaine season. So I'm going to guess that this is about a dancer who is super high a lot, and she's always really shiny.
She. So it's a she in this, okay?
It's a lady, and she gets like, we start off when like she's a little kid and she's just like dancing in her bathroom mirror a lot,
Okay.
and then she's
And her grandma always tells her one day she's going to shine.
right.
I'm just going to stop you and say that sounds like the premise to the worst movie of all time. Cocaine-riddled dancer who only dances in front of a mirror, and her mother comes in and gives her a pep talk every 5 minutes. You're going to shine one day. That sucks.
Well, we haven't got to the axe part yet.
Oh.
There'll be an axe at some point.
Well, so it's like Footloose mixed with Carrie, mixed with a little bit of like Halloween
Okay.
kind of thing.
A footloose, a pig's blood.
Stick a knife in your sister.
And then like very young Kevin Bacon appears for no reason at all.
He always
whatsoever.
did. He's in every fucking film.
Isn't there another Tremors happening and Kevin Bacon's going to be in it?
Oh, God, I hope so.
Mm-hmm. He's actually
Yeah.
he's producing it, I believe.
Oh, I hope so.
And I think it's gonna be a series. I don't think it's gonna be a movie.
Oh, like a TV series? I'm 100% okay with that.
I think it's supposed to
love
be like
Tremors.
his journey after Tremors coming back.
That's awesome.
I'm excited to love Tremors.
I'm a huge Tremors fan.
It's like the only horror movie that I like.
It's just too bad we're not doing Tremors this week.
It really is too bad, isn't it?
We
Because I
should do
love Bert.
Tremors.
He's my favorite character, Bert, with
Yeah.
all the guns.
He's fantastic.
Yes.
Go get the elephant gun! Yeah.
And Reba McEntire.
Oh, she was the bomb.
Fucking-
Also,
love
the
Reba
fact that
McEntire.
Bert doubled down on this film series. Like, he was like, I'll be in every goddamn film you make on this thing.
Weren't there like 6 altogether?
1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's 5. And they just did
Yeah.
5. 5 was like 2015.
There's
I've
a
seen-
recent one?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen
Jesus.
I've seen the first 3.
Yeah.
One is like a prequel. That happens like in the Old West.
4th is.
The 4th is.
So
Okay.
first one was the one with Kevin Bacon. Second one is Bert going off.
Mhm. Reba
Um,
left him, right?
Rita
Yeah.
left him, and
Did you
it's
say-
just
Did you just call Reba McEntire Rita?
Rita.
No.
I thought her name in the film was. What was her name in the film?
I don't know, but her name in real life is
I
Rita.
actually think it was Reba in the film.
Was it?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
thought it was
know.
Rita. So in the second one, his wife had left him, but it's the other guy who wasn't Kevin Bacon. they come to contact him, tell him that they have a problem with Tremors, and so he goes back to the town, or he goes to Mexico.
Yeah, to Mexico.
Yeah, in Mexico they're having the problem. In the third one, oh fuck, I can't remember what happened in the third one.
Isn't that the one where they fly?
Yes.
Yes.
Reba McEntire's character is named Heather.
Oh,
Heather.
Yeah.
Ugh,
well, now I feel shitty.
what a terrible name. Fucking terrible name.
Heather's a fine name.
So in the third one, who's in the? I think it's just him. It's like his journey in
Doesn't
the third
the
one.
kid come back?
Yes.
And he tries to like make it into like a theme park or whatever.
Yes.
That's the
'Cause,
third
they,
one?
Yeah, because
Yes.
they all own stake in the town. or
No, the
something
third
like that.
one they fly. The third one they fly.
Was it the
Which one's
second one he was
where
trying to
the
make?
kid
The
comes
second
back?
one was the one where the not Kevin Bacon partner,
Right.
Comes
he has
back.
his story.
Earl.
And he
Yeah.
has to get Bert's help.
Right.
And third one, it's all Bert.
Yeah, right. And
It's
they
his
fly,
story, and they're
fly.
flying.
So it's got to be the fourth one.
Yeah,
or
where
fifth
the
one.
kid comes
And
back.
I haven't seen this.
The fourth one is the one that takes place in like Western times. And then the fifth one is the one they just did. I haven't seen the whole thing, but it was pretty terrible.
Shock.
So
but
it
I
means we
believe
have to
Bert's in
watch it.
every single one.
He's the one that got the big contract, the big Han Solo contract to appear
Yeah.
in every Tremors.
But that's not the film we're talking about.
No.
So did you have what was the ending of your story
She kills her grandma.
for being so supportive?
Yeah.
So goddamn supportive.
It's too much. It makes people nervous.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Well, she blamed her for never shining.
Yeah, that's true.
I never did fucking shine.
It was a lot to live up to.
And that's when the axe comes in.
Just
Because we've all seen the cover of the movie.
right.
She
it's
turns into Jack
it's a pair of
Nicholson.
tap shoes and an axe. That's the entire poster. Oh, trains! I forgot about trains. So anyway, we'll watch the movie. We'll come back and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, we're back. We've seen The Shining. Some of us for the 50,000th time,
Oh,
Some of us for the first time all the way through.
all the way through.
never gets old.
Where to start? Stanley Kubrick's an amazing director.
Terrible person.
Terrible person. He is known for films such as Clockwork Orange,
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket,
2001.
Barry Lyndon. Maybe
Boo!
the 5 people have seen that one.
That movie sucks.
He was also working on the script for AI when he died.
Didn't he do Eyes Wide Shut?
Eyes
too?
Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut.
How to Love the Bomb.
That
was funny.
Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, Doctor Strangelove. That's
Or How I
funny.
Stopped Worrying and Learned to Love the Bomb.
Which is kind of our reality now, in a way.
Kind of.
Throughout history, he's been an auteur. He's like the American version of Akira Kurosawa. He's our significant contribution to the film world, if you could say that like that. But, yes, terrible person. He was known for running you ragged as an actor or actress, and he would continue to do takes until you got it exactly the way he wanted it.
Sounds like you.
It really does.
Except I have
Matt
never
can
made
attest to this because you made Matt get into freezing cold water.
It was worth
to do
it.
that.
It was worth it.
So
I would never do it again. Unless you were paying me.
so
And then I'd probably do anything.
so after he did, was it after Clockwork Orange? I don't remember exactly the timeline, but I know he was looking to do a horror film.
Right.
And his secretary told a story about every day she'd hear the sound of something hitting the wall, and it was him throwing different books that he was reading, like different horror stories that he was reading up against the wall.
He just sounds so obnoxious.
And then one day, she
Like
said,
socks.
Yeah.
Socks.
Like, what
one
a
day,
dick.
it stopped. She went in, and he was reading the Stephen King's The Shining.
Mhm.
That is the last time that he will actually think about that book when making this movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because he read it, and he goes, huh, I have a better idea.
Exactly.
He did call Stephen King up. Stephen King says that he said, don't you think that all ghost stories are a little optimistic? Stephen King now hates this movie
Oh, yeah, because it had nothing to do with the book.
with a passion.
Right. Well, the book itself had to do with his way of dealing with his alcoholism at the time.
Right. And it's,
The Jack Torrance character was basically him because he did teach English, high school English, and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that the book had a lot more to do with Indians, too. Really?
No.
In this film,
Is that just a fully made up thing for the film?
Yes.
it was almost like, if you think about it, it seemed like they weren't sure if that was going to completely sell the idea. Just the fact that, like, oh, this other guy died and it's going to leave a shine on this building.
Well, when did Poltergeist come out?
That's like 90-something.
Oh, okay, never mind it. Because they beat that Indian burial ground thing to death.
Oh my gosh.
Well, maybe they saw this and they were like, they just kind of
Woohoo!
mentioned it there.
How did Ghost come about? Well, shit, he did it. We can do it too. Our
Well,
whole neighborhood was built on an Indian burial ground.
Poltergeist was 1982.
82?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I was really wrong. So wrong, I'm going to take it out.
I proved to everyone that I'm always right.
I'm always right.
That's how this works.
This film sets up Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance, which is a huge stretch as a character. It's obviously...
When he walks in and says, "Hi, I'm Jack Torrance," I was like, "No, you're not. You're Jack
Yeah, you're
Nicholson."
Jack Nicholson. It's almost like he's like, I'm
That
Jack Torrance. That's
Stephen
right.
King, that was another one of his problems with the movie is he's nuts from the very beginning.
Right.
It's Jack
Yeah.
Nicholson. That's
Jack-
all you see.
He just looks like the scary.
The one flew over the
person.
cuckoo's nest, you know.
Yeah.
You just see Jack Nicholson.
I don't know if Jack Nicholson is like this in real life, but the Jack Nicholson in this film, I would not believe a goddamn word he said
No.
at all.
No.
From the first time he looks at you, everything he says is a lie, and it's obvious.
Yep.
His eyebrows are the devil's horns on his face.
He
Seriously.
just doesn't look like the kind of person you would give a job to.
He had
Not
two
an important job of running a resort hotel.
No.
for 6 months.
You're right.
By himself.
So you had two options as Jack Nicholson in his life at this point. He could either be an actor or a car salesman. Like, that's a
I
used
think he
car
would
salesman.
be a terrible car salesman because you wouldn't believe him about anything.
But he looks
ever.
like he's trying to
You
give
would
you a
walk
deal.
up and he'd say, "Hey, I'm Jack," and I'd be like, not today.
Subaru's, I'm not that
Yeah,
into it.
not today.
He goes to interview at the Overlook Hotel,
Well,
which
let's
is
do the bird's eye view camera thing in the beginning shot of
Fuck.
the
Oh
movie.
yeah.
this
That
is
was
Kubrick
Wasn't that
to a T.
awesome?
This is like Kubrick's like, I have a good idea. I'm gonna make it last 20 minutes. And so for 20 minutes, we watch this helicopter chase this car through the woods.
I mean, it's kind of pretty though.
It's pretty.
The music kind of sounded like a baritone learned some like octave scales or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you said the music at the beginning gives you no optimism towards the entire film.
No.
They're gonna die from the
Correct.
beginning.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
And we're setting up the interview scene, but this all ties into the interview is this is a horrifying situation. Everyone's going to die. And the main character's nuts from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Go.
you have
Yeah.
the interviewer who can see how crazy this man is sitting across from him. I believe you can see the evil radiating off Jack
Yeah.
Nicholson in the scene, and he's just like, so this is gonna be fine, right?
I would just be really concerned, like if I was sitting across from you and I was like, "Hey, I've got this job for you," but all this murder happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And like, there's a
the
possibility.
previous caretaker hacked his whole family to death with a hatchet, including his daughters and wife. Then he stuck the barrel of a shotgun in his mouth and blew his head off. And he looks across at Jack, and Jack's just sitting there like he's watching paint dry.
Yeah.
Like,
and then
and-
he's like, oh, I guess I need to say
Zero.
something here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zero concern.
So you're saying that because this came out in 72, which means it would have filmed in 71, and they said that happened in 1970. So it was literally the person before
Right.
that did that. See, I didn't pick up on that. I thought it sounded like this was further back.
He
than
is
that.
taking over the job
Of that
the
guy.
murderer.
Why didn't he
Yeah.
phrase it like that? He phrased it like this happened a long time ago. He said my predecessor.
Because Robbie, in the book, there is so much backstory that sets up all that,
We
and
get none of
they
that.
gloss. Kubrick glosses over all this stuff.
That being said, there's so much exposition going on.
Oh yeah.
They are talking, and everything they're saying is like an important development to what's happening.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's so goddamn much. You just can't focus on it.
It's 2 hours and some odd minutes, and like they still didn't get everything that you need to
Yeah.
like, complete the story.
No.
While he's being interviewed, his wife is back in, let's say, a slum apartment.
Right.
It just looked
That,
like a normal apartment.
That looks like a slum.
It looks like a
Really?
slum. I mean,
And-
you open up with them sitting around a table in a cluttered room, and she's got a cigarette burning on the table.
That was normal in the 70s, though.
That's
wasn't it?
true. Yeah.
It was
I
normal,
think
but
that was like
But
normal
okay,
70s.
here's my problem with that scene though. Does Danny not have friends?
well, he
Does
says
he
No,
not
he-
go to school?
He
he-
says that he can't. There's
Yeah.
no one around there to play with, and he's
Exactly.
a weird
So where the
fucking
hell
kid.
are they living?
right. It looks
He's-
like an apartment. Like it almost looks like they're living in a hotel room.
Right.
I
like,
think
maybe
maybe
they've-
he's just a really weird fucking kid too.
He's schizophrenic.
Maybe an extended hotel stay. Like maybe they got kicked out of their house.
Well, right, because like, what would they do with all of their stuff? for
Well,
6
if you had
months?
read the book, you would know that Jack Torrance was a drunk, and he beat Danny,
Yep.
which he does talk about later on.
Yeah.
Well,
According to him, it was just
just a slight
a
pressure,
slight-
a few pounds of
yeah.
pressure. Yeah. No, he beat the hell out of him because he had his Budweiser sitting there. He was working on a new novel, and he came in to play, and he knocked over the beer onto the manuscript, which back then you only had a typewriter. You didn't have copies. Like, I can just go to Microsoft Word and print off whatever. It's okay, And so he beat him. That was a setup. And then he went to school. The alcoholism progressed worse, and there's this kid he was trying to mentor at the school, and he ended up getting expelled. He blamed Jack Torrance, and he knifed his tire. And he caught the kid in the parking lot and beat the shit out of him in the parking lot. And he got arrested and all sorts of other stuff. So he's trying to start his life over. You get none of that in the movie.
None. In fact, so he destroys a manuscript.
Yes.
That's what he says happened in the book.
Yes.
In the movie, he just disheveled his manuscript.
Or no, he just knocked his papers off the table.
Right. That's why change that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very important. You've got a writer, quote unquote. You've got a writer. They can't see me doing this.
He's making air quotes. Yes.
And it's kind of like if whatever you're into. If you're into painting, I know you draw and stuff. You do film. That would be like one of your kids coming in. If you were a mean drunk alcoholic, your kid's coming in and knocking your camera over, playing tag or something. Or like I write, there'd be like my son coming in and spilling my beer on my computer and it just frying.
Yeah.
Right.
Stuff I've worked on. So you get that. You don't get that in here. If he knocked all my paper to the floor, I'd be like, you little shithead, go play somewhere else. And I just gather it back up and move on.
Right.
And they just kind of gloss over it.
Also, how many times has Jack Nicholson played a writer in other things?
Has he ever played a writer?
And as good as it gets, Jack Nicholson.
That's
is a
right.
writer.
He was a
romance.
No.
author.
No. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he's a romance writer.
Yeah.
That's
He
right.
wrote like trashy romance novels.
Okay.
And what if that movie is just like Danny all grown up?
What was he? Because he was a.
Mind blown.
Danny has a little friend that lives in his mouth, but it seemed to live in his finger because he only ever looks at his finger and it talks through his finger. So what the fuck's he mean it lives in his mouth?
I think maybe that's the physical manifestation for us, so we can see what's going on. Is that what happens in the book?
Well, no.
It doesn't make any sense. He holds his finger out and he bends it and he talks at the same time and he uses
Like a puppet.
He uses
Yeah.
a scratchier little voice to talk.
Probably because you've got a visual. You need to somehow, like Ash said, you need to visually show people that you've got an imaginary friend.
Then why not say he lives in your finger?
Because terrible writing?
We all have kids. Like if
Right.
if your son came to you and was like, "Hey, I have a friend," and like had like a super like weird, deep, gross sounding voice, and like started moving his finger around a lot and asking it questions and stuff and getting answers from it, would you not be like mildly concerned?
That's my whole problem is the parenting in this movie.
It's
is
terrible.
just atrocious.
I have the same problem with Shelley Duvall in this movie that I have with the mom in Cujo.
Yes.
Where she was just the fucking worst.
Yeah.
Like, they don't care until it's too
No.
late.
I mean, I don't want to rehash over Cujo. I really liked that episode, and I mean, it was pretty well to the book on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a parent,
Yeah.
even if it was a grizzly bear, to get your kid,
Do something.
yeah, don't just sit in the car.
Don't wait till he's, like, dead in the back seat. And then don't let him sleep in the sun.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
It
Anyways.
is. And here, they don't allow him to be in a car seat or a booster seat.
Right, yeah.
Right.
He's just leaning forward talking about the Donner Party. And, I just saw it on TV.
Well, you
know?
also got the feeling that Jack Nicholson was kind of hoping they got in a crash, so that Danny would be ejected through the.
Yeah.
I don't know,
the
in the
front chair.
70s, did they put kids in car seats?
No,
No.
I sincerely don't.
And let's
Yeah.
be honest, that car was not moving.
That's
that was
true.
some terrible, terrible overlays.
It was pretty bad.
Shelley Duvall plays his wife, Wendy Torrance, and Danny Lloyd plays Danny Torrance.
Right.
Also, poor Shelley was the only person that didn't have her own name.
That's a good point. But then again, the only person who put in an actual performance in this film was Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah.
And Scatman Crothers.
Yeah.
Crothers, who plays Dick Halloran,
Right.
who's the chef.
The pornographic chef.
Yeah, I love his paintings
Isn't it?
so much.
I just love how Dick Halloran is like, I'm this prestigious cook. I run everything at this hotel, and on my spare time, I just sit around jacking off in my apartment. They never explain shit.
I like to lay in bed and watch some porn. That's all I do.
It's wrong.
So Jack Nicholson takes a job. They are going to go to the Overlook Hotel, and they're going to stay there from October through May.
Right.
These are the months that they shut down because the snow gets so bad that nobody can get to it.
Which kind of sounds like bullshit a little bit. Like, if you have, like, a ski-ready resort, wouldn't you...
The problem, well, they didn't have the ski resort. They did explain that a little bit. They said
Yeah.
the hotel was built, 1907 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was before ski stuff. The only bullshit thing would have been was you get with the hip time. Colorado is a ski resort state.
Yeah.
So you would have ski lifts
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Right.
They would have built
You gotta
it, it just wasn't
you
there.
gotta
Yeah.
revamp it.
Right.
Also, if it was built in 1907, how did anybody fucking get to it?
They built it in the summer.
That's true.
It is.
Took 2 years to build.
So I guess they took the winters off. They
But
would
like,
have
how
to.
did any patron get to it? Anybody trying to stay there?
Ghosts.
So then they travel up, and yes, when they're in the car going up to the Overlook Hotel, Danny asks about Shelley Duvall asks if this is the same mountain where the
Donner Party.
the Donner Party was.
And then Jack says no, it was the Sierras.
Yeah,
or
they
whatever.
for some reason they both have very extensive knowledge of the Donner Party.
Correct.
Danny
Well,
throws
it was
in
in
his.
that area. That's probably where they're from. Like, you know, like Texas history. So, like,
That's true.
you would know Colorado
He
history
said
if
they
you're
lived
from
3.5 hours away. So 3.5 hours by car. Yeah, that's probably still Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wherever there's a shitty little hotel that they were living in. So Danny says that he's heard about cannibalism. Also, why did Jack Nicholson decide he needed to go into the cannibalism side of it?
Yeah.
But that's what he does.
Yeah. I know that was Stephen King's biggest pet peeve. There's no deterioration of the character.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson is crazy in every single scene.
Like in the book, it actually breaks your heart to actually see this guy who's trying to do the best he can
Yeah.
to be a family man. And here it's like, he's a fucking nut.
Well, you don't really...
Fucking get ya.
Yeah.
You don't really like any of the characters.
No.
Like, you don't like Shelley
You're
Duvall.
supposed to connect with Shelley Duvall
You
because
don't,
she's a
because
mom
she's
who's out of
so
control.
Fucking whiny.
But she reads her lines like she's reading them the first time from the script
Right.
without any emotion, and she says them to her kid who has no emotion as well, reading his script back. And you're just like, why would I give a shit about either one of you two?
Well,
I
then
hope-
later on, I'm going to make some chili. You know.
Yeah.
Well, and there's no relationship between her and Jack. Like, even whenever...
There's no relationship between her and her son.
No.
There is no relationship there.
No.
It's just he's a cardboard box in the room that she has to keep alive somehow.
Yeah, that's true.
But most of the times he's not even in the room.
True.
A lot of this movie she spends like interacting with Jack Nicholson on her own.
Or she's leaving him unattended.
A lot of tricycling.
While he's having a fucking seizure or whatever.
Oh, back up. So we already know he's had seizures and talks to people that aren't there.
Right.
Yeah.
So why would that be a good idea to seclude them in the middle of the mountains
Well,
during the winter?
The doctor told her in the beginning, remember, after he has his incident, that
Right.
she doesn't think there's anything wrong with him.
That is because that doctor needs her medical license taken away. Because seriously, let me just come to Joe Blow on the street. Hey, Joe Blow, my kid here, he talks to people, uses his finger, and talks about horrible things all the time, and then he blacks out. Was that cool? They'd be like, oh, you need to get him some help.
Oh, also,
Well,
I
yeah.
asked him about this little guy who lives in his mouth, and he said he didn't want to talk about him anymore.
Right.
Which, as I believe, is a red flag.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at any time a kid loses consciousness, it's a big deal.
It's a big thing. There's something going on.
Yeah.
We're all parents here. Why? I mean,
You would be
all right.
concerned.
the doctor says he's good to go. It's time to go, to the beach. You
Got
know?
a clear bill
Full
of health.
denial here.
Well, like Jack Nicholson says later on, he signed a contract.
Binding agreement.
So they live in the hotel for about a month, and no. They go through their tour of the hotel, and they meet Scatman Crothers,
Correct.
who is the cook, and he is also somebody who has the same power as Danny. They call it shining.
Right, which is not a glimmering dancer who dances on cocaine
Right,
in
yeah.
front of a mirror.
Unfortunately.
And he shines with Danny in awkward ways, and also
While
takes him,
multitasking.
also gives him
It's
candy
impressive.
while
No,
trying to
ice
convince
cream.
him.
Ice cream.
Right, but the basic premise is the same. He takes Danny by himself to go get ice cream. And
Go
then-
with the nice black man. There's no problem with that.
I mean,
We
later
never
on.
know him.
Well, later on,
Go
Jack
hang out.
Nicholson is shown to be quite racist when he's
Oh,
talking
yeah.
to. So
Yeah.
yeah, why would they just let him go?
Yeah.
To be fair,
That's
he
weird.
is a pornographer.
But not of children.
No.
Also, when Scatman Crothers, who is not a bad actor,
No.
he's
Yeah.
acting his heart out on
Yeah,
this
he
film.
did a good job.
When he's talking to Danny, Danny is still a cardboard fucking box,
Oh, yeah.
just standing there,
Yep.
or just sitting there, just looking at him, and he's having to act his
What?
way
You
around
got-
it.
Well, you can almost tell that Scatman Crothers is when he delivers that line and he goes, "What? You got nothing to say?" It's almost like he's got a
It's
stick.
literally-
Talk, you little son of a bitch.
What you
This
can't
is your
see,
line.
what you can't see is on the table. He's stabbing him with
Yeah.
a fork. Just fucking talk.
It's like our kids when you ask them what they did at school. They're like, oh, nothing.
Yeah, if our kids were in like a multi-billion-dollar film.
Yeah.
I feel like he could have just avoided a lot of trouble and just gotten better actors.
This film seems to get bored with certain scenes and just decides to dissolve out of them. So when you get to a point where it's like, oh, that should be an important part, it'll just dissolve into some other
Right.
time. And then other times it chooses just to go to black and have a subtitle on it. Which, by the way, you wanted to talk about the subtitles from the beginning.
Oh, the
Credits and
they're
everything.
terrible. They're fucking teal.
They were teal. They were
Like,
like,
why?
for a person who puts so much effort into his films.
No, there were turquoise, hence the Indians.
Oh,
Really?
I don't know.
makes sense.
I know they sell turquoise stuff in Arizona.
But
At the
for somebody,
casinos, they're all
for
turquoise.
somebody who put so much effort into each shot, he just decided to do a scroll of the worst text you've ever seen just
It's
across the screen.
like a nasty sans
Budgeting.
teal.
Budgeting.
We put all our money.
We put all our money into acting school.
We put all our money into buying cans of Indian Caruth or whatever it
Big
was.
Chief chewing tobacco.
Big Chief that we could fill a scene with.
Yeah.
Oh, Calumet.
Calumet. Yeah,
Yeah.
we filled an entire closet with Calumet, so we have no money left over for
Which
titles.
means friendship? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Calumet?
It does. You got
Yeah.
it. Awesome.
I learned that from Hotel Hell.
I'll be damned.
So it goes to a month that they've been living in this hotel, and everything seems to be going okay. Shelley Duvall is playing waiter.
It doesn't seem to be going okay because immediately it cuts to Jack in the game room. Or not Jack, Danny in the game room, and he's playing darts, and he turns around and sees the twins for the first time.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
He sees the twins.
And you know that they're alone, and you see them. Now, I will say this, when I was a kid and saw that movie, I shit myself.
With the twins?
The
Really?
twins are scary as shit. Yeah, because even I knew as a little kid, they're there by themselves. What are these two girls doing here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was just creepy for me.
Yeah. That is pretty.
I guess I should go and ask this question. Was this film ever scary?
Yes.
Like, when we watched it, we just loved the lines.
Well, I saw it. The first time I saw it, I was like 8 or 9, though. And when you're 8 or 9, everything like that's scary.
Yeah.
Where you got the kid with the knife, you know, and a dad trying to kill his family. You're not looking at the bad acting.
You're looking at your
all
dad
the
like,
shit. I'm looking at my
"Fuck
dad who used to
yeah."
yell at me all the time, saying, "Time to get up for school. You're never gonna make it." So yeah, and it you know, different people's views on horror and what scares them, you grow out of it. You know, the things that used to scare you when you were a kid, it doesn't scare you anymore.
Right.
There's a lot of Stephen King books that I didn't read until I was an adult, which it's supposed to be scary. It didn't scare me at all. I'm an amateur writer too, but no one knows that. No one ever will. But I know the things that are real, terrifying, like losing your family and stuff like that. That's what you kind of have to go after. Whatever's
Yeah.
popular now, I like to distort. Like, I need to figure out something with fidget spinners. Seriously, they're gonna fucking kill lots of children. And
Just
cut fingers
little metal
off.
ball bearings flying out, embedding in
that's
your
my
eyeball.
next story. But yeah, I say all that to get back to the story. Yeah, it was terrifying. I know when I was a kid, it scared the shit out of me. You know?
Well, the amount
The
of
other thing
time.
that scared the shit out of me was the fact there was no music. You're in
Oh,
this
that's true,
hotel.
yeah.
You just had the sound of the.
Yes.
Oh, no.
So the tricycle scene, the amount of time Stephen King put into this fucking tricycle, and the sound work that went into it afterwards.
Oh,
that
Kubrick.
I do remember that.
Kubrick. Not
Kubrick.
Stephen King.
Did I say King?
You did.
I knew I was gonna make some.
You'll edit that out so you're perfect later.
Kubrick. So Stanley Kubrick worked on that scene so hard. He even invented a new dolly system so he could film it.
Wow.
He invented a lot of stuff for his films, didn't he?
Question.
What?
Okay, remember the scene where Danny's playing with his fire trucks?
Mm-hmm. Where
And
over top of the
right,
carpet?
and the tennis ball rolls up perfectly in line
Yep.
between. How many shots do you think that took?
So fucking many. That's the kind of person Kubrick was. He would make him do that so many times.
Jesus.
He
So
does
yeah.
just sound so much like you. Just like super
Well,
obnoxious.
seriously.
So Stanley Kubrick films this scene of chasing Danny around on his tricycle, experiencing different parts of the hotel. And this happens twice before anything actually happens other than that.
Have you ever realized, watching that movie so many times, that the hotel layout doesn't make any sense? When you go from the game room into the kitchen.
Yeah,
that was a lot to do with that tricycle scene too, so we could show you the audience like my big thing with ghost stories. When I tell ghost stories, it's psychological. It's you're in a house, but why is the bathroom in the living room? And you never really talk about that. It's just certain subtle things here and there saying everything's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I did do my YouTube research on that stuff.
I'm Wikipedia.
Where, nothing Kubrick did was like unintentional.
Right, yeah.
He wanted you to see those rooms that he was going through.
And also, he was so in love with his own movie that he would show you the 30 seconds that didn't matter before something, the 30 seconds after that didn't matter. He'll give you 20 minutes of a fucking helicopter ride if he likes the shot. He'll just throw it all in there. He was very much one of those people who could not self-edit the things that he could never pace himself. This is why today, you need a whole team around you that can be like, okay, that was a good shot, but what if we just condensed it down a little bit?
It's kind of like writing Stephen King. I can't remember what author off the top of my head he was talking about. Maybe it was Ray Bradbury or something. Yeah, it was Ray Bradbury who said sometimes you have to kill your darlings.
So as things start to devolve in the hotel, Jack Nicholson starts getting crazier and crazier.
Now, at what point do you think, and I'll ask Ashley this, at what point do you think Jack Nicholson loses his mind to the hotel? Because he goes in crazy, but at what point do you think the hotel has him?
Probably at the point where Shelley Duvall and Danny are outside running through the maze and he's looking through the window at them. And he just makes that weird Jack Nicholson face.
Eyes down.
Let me run this by you. What about the interrupting scene?
Where she interrupts him?
He goes
fucking nutty.
He just seems like a dick from the
that
get.
seems
that
like
way at home.
Yeah, that seems like that's an everyday course, especially the way that she reacts to it.
Right.
She seems a little bit shocked.
I'm just gonna go make some sandwiches.
Yeah.
Why don't you start by getting the fuck out?
Yeah,
right.
if that was an unusual thing, if Rob did that to me, I would
gone.
be like, what the fuck? But she doesn't seem like that's out of the ordinary in any way.
You'd be in the Sidewinder going down the hill.
Yeah.
By the time I was why don't
cat.
you get the fuck out?
Why don't you get the divorced?
That's how that would go.
Yeah.
But I think I see your point. He seems more like a person who's a jerk trying to hide it at the beginning.
Right. But at what point...
Not well.
Not well.
Yeah, but at what point does he just drop the charade?
Yeah, I would say, the typewriter scene where she interrupts him.
Where he's not working at all.
That's the first time he actually
like
comes against her.
Right.
But again, it seems like something that they've dealt with in the past.
Yeah.
And also, we should probably mention, you mentioned a little bit earlier, the fact that, did Danny break his arm? Is that what it was?
Yes.
So
in the book.
He broke Danny's arm in a fit of alcoholic rage.
Yeah.
They mention this twice in the whole film.
Right.
And it's one of the big reasons that he goes to the bar because...
that's when he got... You're talking about the point where the woman from room 237 chokes him?
Yes.
And then... what's her name? Shelley Duvall comes down and says, "You bastard!"
Shelley Duvall comes to his rescue because Jack is screaming in his sleep.
Oh yeah, I had the most horrible nightmare, horrible nightmare I've ever had.
He's
and then
I didn't just kill you,
right?
I hacked you up to little pieces.
Oh my god!
That's for as a mother, you go. It's time to get the fuck out of here.
I hacked you up in a little pieces.
I hacked you up in a little divorce.
Well, I mean, especially when your kid comes down the stairs, he's got hand marks around his neck, and your husband has a history of abuse.
Right.
So you're like, okay, so
and
now
no one
we're
else
done.
is in this hotel.
Right. So you're like, now we're done, and your kid is catatonic.
Right.
Right. And so you take him back upstairs, and your kid makes your schizophrenic kid who talks to a little person inside
Who
of his
shouldn't
mouth.
be there to begin with.
Right. tells you that a lady is in the room
Right.
and tried to. It is like that. You're fucking crazy, and then you leave. Like
Well, no,
immediately.
then she believes him.
Right, which
Remember
is
that?
crazy.
She's like, Jack,
Yeah.
there's a crazy woman in here.
I would not believe any of our
But
kids if they said that.
Honestly, does it look like they lock the hotel?
No.
No.
Does it look like they have any sort of security around this
But I mean,
hotel?
who
True.
can
I
get
mean,
up there?
random naked
There
ladies
could
be
be
walking through the woods.
there could be hillbilly people living in these
And
woods.
choose that specific room.
The maze
Which
could
has
be
a
full of
whole
drunks.
backstory in the novel. But they just gloss the fuck over.
They just want to make
I mean,
it like
there
a mystery.
are chapters dedicated to room 217 in the book.
217, so it's
Yeah.
not 237. So why would he
Why
change
would he change
that?
that?
I heard that where they were filming, they wanted to keep noise down for certain parts of the hotel were still open. And there was too much noise, so they picked another wing of the hotel and filmed it in that room and just said, fuck it, room 237.
That's bananas.
That's what I heard.
I also love the carpet in room 237. It's fantastic.
Only
Some
a
nice
woman.
70s photo.
Or a very gay man.
It's some nice
would
70s
notice the
carpet.
room
I'm
with
telling
carpet
you.
in a hotel.
I love
Once you
the
once you
carpet.
mentioned, I was like, okay, that's some good looking carpet.
It had like a full
I
like
like the
Art Deco
drapes,
thing going on.
and I like the glass in the shower with the naked chick in it. You could see the
If she was just out of the way.
That bitch was scary.
Also, like when she gets up and she like walks towards Jack Nicholson, like the face that he's making, that's not like a sexy face.
No.
That's like a terrifying.
Yes.
Like
She's
I'm
like,
gonna
what the hell is
murder
this
you
man
face.
doing in my room?
Right.
And then the face she's making back at him is not like a hey, let's have sex face. It's like a
Right.
hey, I'm a
Can you
scary
hand me that
face.
towel?
Right.
Please get out of
Why
my
are
room.
you in here?
But he sees that as a come hither look.
And apparently that's what she was giving off. So I guess it's fine.
Does Danny run into the twins before or after he goes into 237?
Before.
So he runs into the twins while he's tricycling around.
Right.
This is the big payoff for the whole tricycle thing. Every time they go around a corner, you're like, what's around that corner? For 2 whole scenes before this, it's been nothing.
Right.
This time he goes around a corner and there are 2 twins at the end of the hallway. This is probably the most iconic scene of this
Yes.
entire movie.
Yep.
They talk to him, and while they're talking, you get these flashes of this bloody scene where there's 2 dead girls laying there with an axe. I hope you like the gore in this scene because you won't see any more of it until the very end of the film,
Right.
and there's only gonna be a little bit more, which is the fucking weirdest part of it all. Like, all of this builds up to one actual murder.
Well, what's so interesting is like he and Shelley Duvall eventually see like this like tidal wave of blood come through the elevator. Which, and I mean not to belittle any death, but like there's only 3 people that died.
Not in the
4
book!
people. But in the
Lots
film,
of people die in the
4
book.
people died, and so you're like, man, that seems overkill
There's a
for
whole
like 4 people.
history of violence in the book. From mob times and mob hits and prohibition era murders and all sorts of stuff in the book.
Maybe that makes more sense.
Even when Scatman Crothers is talking to Danny, he just talks about like burnt toast. He's like, when something happens, it leaves a little bit of shine on it. Like, that doesn't lead to the idea that there's all of these deaths in this hotel. And
That's what Kubrick's trying to get you to go with all these different scenes. They want you to know that there's still a history.
right. But
I'm not going to tell you about it.
And then
but
and,
there is one.
and Danny says you're afraid of room 237. And Scatman Crothers is like, you don't need to go in there. But other than 237, he's not afraid of anything else in the hotel.
Want me to tell you about room 237? Why it's so important?
Tell me
in the
about
book?
217. Yeah, tell me about
217?
217.
There's a charismatic old rich lady who her husband, it was like a marriage of convenience, and she was sleeping with this younger kid who was like 17 or 18, and she was in love with him. He was doing it because it was a sugar mama situation. So she leaves her husband, goes to live in this hotel with him, and the kid's like, fuck this old bitch, I'm done. So he gets some money and leaves, and she kills herself. And so
In the bathtub?
In the bathtub.
So that's who that lady
Yes.
is. Jesus Christ.
Would've been
I
nice.
thought it was the wife. Which would make no sense at all.
No.
What was it? 3 different people in that scene?
When I did my YouTube research, think about this. You have the twins. There's symmetry in everything Kubrick does throughout this whole movie, including the carpet and everything. There's symmetry. You have the twins. But think about the shots between when Danny comes down after just being choked and Jack Nicholas going up to the room. You never see Danny go into room 237.
Right. You see him open the door.
Right.
There's two of them. There's two old ladies in the bathtubs. They're the twins.
Ew.
Right.
So wait, the twins are the old ladies?
Yes.
I thought the twins were the original caretaker's daughters that he axes up.
That's if you really start looking at it and really start doing.
Oh,
in
because
depth
there's
in
still
it.
a lady in there.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Danny got attacked somewhere else, not in the room. He never went into the room.
That's right, because he just saw the door open.
Right.
That makes sense. Because even when
And Jack goes into the room afterwards, and the lady is just now getting out of the bathtub and
Right.
coming to get him.
and then even when he's like running away from her, there's still a lady in the tub.
Right. Which gives you this whole repetition. The hotel, they've always been here. No matter how old or how young, they've always been there.
That's
Right.
interesting.
So you got to think about it. I know Stephen King does a lot of like the Dark Tower stuff. Everything kind of ties into that supernatural thing. And what he always says in interviews and stuff is like life is like like a wheel, and it always turns. It just is. And you've always been here.
That kind of makes a lot of
Which
sense.
is why the end makes... Okay.
The end makes, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But the end makes perfect sense when you think of it in that dimension. If you think of it as everything is always here. Always. There's
Yeah.
no death. Everything is just always here.
How come
Huh.
Jack Nicholson doesn't talk about what happens in room 237? He seems
Good
like
question.
he seems completely ambivalent to it when he comes downstairs.
Because by then the hotel already has him. That's why I was trying to ask before. Because otherwise he wouldn't have covered up for it. He covered up for
Right, because he's
Yeah.
genuinely terrified when he looks in that mirror.
Right. And the thing is, it never attacked him. It didn't choke him.
Right, just
Right.
laughed at him and tried to hug him.
Right.
It's just some old,
Yeah.
old brittle lady.
Which how
Poor,
quick
poor old
Yeah.
brittle lady who spends the rest of her life as the lady whose
in the bathtub.
saggy titties
Right.
are chasing Jack Nicholson out of this room.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is sad.
With no backstory.
How do you sell that to your grandkids? Like, hey, let's watch this film I'm in.
I don't think that was her as an actual old lady, though.
You think that was?
I think it was an actual
That was an
lady.
actual
Think
lady.
so?
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that was Kubrick's mom.
probably.
He forced her to do it.
Here's my close-up, Mr. DeVille.
So Jack Nicholson goes through this thing in room 237, and he doesn't talk about it because he's already. But why did he get scared if he's already part of the hotel?
Because that's scary.
I thought I was gonna fuck a hot chick. This is not a hot chick.
Jesus Christ!
I mean, I'm still gonna
Then
fuck her, but it's
he backs up out of the room, and then that's it. He doesn't say. Well, he probably did it to himself. Isn't that what he says about Danny?
yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
oh, he covered up for the hotel
Yeah.
for doing it.
Right.
How would you even do that to yourself? though?
Because by then, he was part of the game plan of the hotel.
Why wouldn't the hotel also take Shelley Duvall, though?
We have to get further toward the end of this.
Okay.
to start talking about that.
So Jack Nicholson, in between here and after the scene, finds himself in the empty bar. They take all the alcohol out of the hotel for insurance reasons. But when Jack Nicholson finds himself at the bar, when he's having a particularly stressful day, why is he having stressful days? His only job is to sit in this fucking building and type.
Writing is really hard.
He, in fact,
Totally.
It's
The-
very hard.
the contract that he signed said he was going to do certain things inside the hotel.
His binding document.
His wife is doing that shit. He's not doing any of it. We never see him work inside the hotel.
Well, we've established that he's an asshole. But writing is very hard. I write ad copy, and it's terrifying and very hard.
It takes me 3 months to write a 1,200-word short story.
It's very hard.
So he finds himself at this empty bar, and he's talking to the bar as if there's
Do you
somebody
want the
there.
fan?
Her in the mirror. Think about it. The bathroom scene, when he's looking at the glass behind the bar, he starts talking to the bartender. When he gets the stuff spilt on him, he's looking at the bar, and then walks into the bathroom, and then he's washing from the mirror. And stuff. Mirrors have a lot to do with the.
There's
him seeing
a
the glass.
mirror behind the bar,
Right.
but he's not looking in the mirror when he talks to
Not from our point of view.
Grady.
Not from our point of view.
Is it Grady?
From his point of view. Yeah.
Who's the bartender?
And that's not great. Grady's a caretaker. Oh, I was going to say, like, the times that Jack actually sees a ghost, mirrors are involved. So he sits down and immediately starts ordering,
Yeah.
and you have the bar in the
Yeah.
background.
And from our point of view, we see a bartender
Right.
sitting or standing behind a counter
Right.
with a full bar, like completely wet.
Right. But when we're seeing that, we're seeing the mirror too.
Is he also not the creepiest bartender
Very.
that you'd ever meet in your entire
I
life?
also
like
have
him.
to put a pause real quick and talk about the book because it's my favorite part in that whole book.
Okay.
Is you don't see any ghosts up until this point at all in the novel. You have him all stressed out and all this stuff. He comes in and says, "God damn this place and my family and all this stuff." You know what? I'll have 7 shots of Bacardi. Okay. And where would you like them? It's immediately, and it's a character talking. It just happens.
Which is how it happens in the movie.
Right, but it was just so cool that transition. There was no transition. It's like he'd been there the whole time. Point of view.
Also,
Yeah.
in the book, it's very clear there's no bartender.
Very clear.
Because in the movie, it seems like he's been there.
Right. No, it's
Right.
very, very clear.
Well, in the beginning, he acts like it seems like he's kind of talking to himself, and he knows he's talking to himself, like he's making a joke out of it. When he's like, there's not a lot of people here, or whatever he says.
He says a little dead or a little empty tonight or something like that.
Yeah, like, and he laughs, like he knows that he's talking.
And then
to
he
himself.
rubs his eyes. And after he rubs his eyes, that's when we see the bartender.
Right.
Right.
The next time he's in there, it's not just the bartender.
Oh, they're having a party.
It's a fucking full-out 1920s
Right.
soiree.
Yeah.
There's a band on the bandstand having a great time, and you said that
Yeah, Stephen King has a bit part. He's a band director.
he's the band director in it, and he gets bumped into by one of the waiters.
Delbert Grady.
The waiter takes him to the bathroom and tells him basically that he should kill his family.
Right.
This is pretty much when he decides he's going to kill his family.
Right.
But he doesn't immediately go to kill his family. He's got to first go about the hotel sabotaging things that they can use,
yeah.
and then goes back to typing. Like, why does he then go back to typing?
Okay, so we're getting to the scene now because we already talked about the interrupting scene a little bit and all the stuff we were talking about the breakdown, mental breakdown. So now we're to the scene where she's going to check up on him, and he's not in there, and she starts going through all of the papers, and it's all work, no play, makes Jack a dull boy.
Right.
Okay, here's my problem with that whole scene. They've been in the hotel for months, right? And apparently this is all he's been writing.
Right.
So now where did he go mad?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He's been crazy the whole time.
The whole time he's been nuts.
Which is supposed to be this is supposed to be the twist. It's supposed to be
right.
like, oh my god, he's been insane since they arrived.
But since they got Jack Nicholson
Right.
to play this person,
We
you
already
know
knew
he's
that.
been crazy.
They went through the phone book and said they looked under C for crazy, and they found Jack Nicholson's name
Yeah.
next to it.
Exactly.
or just his eyebrows.
Just the eyebrows.
They just got the headshot. You're hired.
Yeah. And that also doesn't make any sense to the fact that, like, up until this moment, he has some redeeming qualities, but he's been crazy the whole time.
Right. It's almost like a mask. He's
Did
been
he have
trying
redeeming
to-
qualities though?
Like, he still investigated 237.
Well, he still investigated room 237 to make sure someone wasn't up there messing with his kid. Otherwise,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have given a shit, and he wouldn't have gone
Right.
at all. Been like, he's
Right.
just a nutty kid. The other thing is, from the very beginning, the whole reason he's trying to get this job is to get back on his feet, to be a good dad, and all this stuff. Even though he's a piece of shit,
Right.
at least the human quality is there. Now here, it's gone.
But they don't really give you that exposition in the movie about him trying to like be a better
No.
person.
You just kind of have to develop that on
Right,
your own. Like,
yeah.
why is he getting a job? He needs a job. Why do you need a job to take care of your
Well,
family?
he said that he was a teacher,
Mhm.
and he said it was just to kind of make ends meet.
Right.
And so, but they don't
Where
really.
in the book, you understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's
that
no
makes more
longer a
sense.
teacher.
He was
because,
run off.
Yeah, he beat the hell out of a student
Which is frowned upon.
So
in many states, not Alabama.
So yeah, Shelley Duvall wanders upon, finds his book that's just full of all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Right. With typos and everything.
And then
Yeah.
she goes through, thumbs through the manuscript that's in like fucking thick manuscript.
Right.
Now, this is another part that is a Kubrickism, because any regular rational person would be like, okay, print a couple pages and we'll just keep flipping them through, and then you can just flip through those pages. No. Kubrick had one of his interns spend his entire summer fucking typing this out on a fucking typewriter
Damn.
That's crazy.
just to fill that in there.
Guess what else I learned? He had to do it in 4 different languages. And all
What?
he did one in French that said something completely different that had to do with the French way of saying all work and no play.
Yeah.
He did one in German, and he did one in like Chinese or something like that,
Oh my
wherever he was
gosh.
showing that film. So not only did he do a manuscript of All Work No Play by hand, he had to do it 4 different times for 4 other languages.
That's crazy.
All for a 3-second like flip through.
Yes.
But it's kind of your like moment, right, where like she realizes what's going on.
But I mean, the audience has known
Yeah,
that
but,
since
but
the
even
fucking
in the
beginning.
1980s, Star Wars came out in the 70s. You can do some.
Yeah, you
True.
can.
Voodoo
I mean,
magic.
honestly, you could have one page that you just fit in there and flip through.
Yeah.
Every
But
other
not
page
just
is
it
like.
did add to the realism though, because you start seeing the typos. Like
Yeah,
the
he's
typos
like, I
all the way
don't
through.
care anymore. And
Yeah.
you realize that. Whoa. He even did the indentions where dialogue would.
Yeah,
have been
he has a
done.
little V next to it.
That made me laugh.
What an insane person.
Shit makes it a lot more funnier. I need to watch it again as a comedy.
Yeah. Well, we always watch it as a
that's
comedy.
true. It's funny.
Like we would just sit there quoting the lines,
Yeah.
especially the next part, which is where Jack Nicholson finds her looking through his manuscript. Shelley Duvall has a bat.
Which,
and
where did she find a bat?
I think the sports room.
There's no sports.
There's a games room.
Oh, that's right, games room
Did
There's no
they-
sports room.
Do they bat in there?
and ball. They bat and ball. So Shelley
That's a
Duvall.
very good question.
Shelley Duvall is up against is basically trying to talk her way out of the situation.
And that is not how you hold a bat.
No, it was not at all.
It's like
Shelley Duvall has never held a bat in her life.
It's like she is holding a baseball bat from like her non-dominant side, and then mixed her hands up.
That's
So it's
just
like
her hands
because
flipped
I'm a
upside.
righty, so it's kind of like this.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
bananas the way she holds it.
Yeah.
Her knuckles
It
aren't
is
lined
not
up.
intimidating at all, and,
No.
and her grip is loose. How did he just not go up and go give me that and just take the bat and the movie be over?
No.
Now, what you're saying to me right now is that if she had a better grip, she probably could have ended this whole movie.
Yeah, because she
Right
hit
there.
him. She got a hit in him.
Got a good clunker
well,
on
he
him.
wasn't protecting his head. Okay, so he tells her, "I'm gonna," he chases her up the stairs, then leads off by, "I'm gonna bash your
Yes.
fucking brains in," then says,
And then tries to work it
"Calm
back.
down. Give me the bat."
Tries to go backwards on
Yeah.
it. He's like,
Which is not how you're supposed
on
to
step
do
2, 3, 4, he's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna chop you up into little
See,
pieces.
in a real normal setting, it would be, "Sweetheart,
Please, please put the bat
Please.
down.
look, we're all pent up in here. There's a bunch of aggression going on. I'm still your husband. I still love you. Just give me the bat." No, you don't start off with, "You're a bitch. I'm gonna beat you to death with that fucking thing." Now,
I'm
would
gonna
you
wear
please
your
give it
skin
to
for
me?
Thanksgiving dinner. And then by step 7, 8, 9,
Right.
he's like, all right, let's calm this down a second.
Hold on, let's take it down. Let's take it down just a notch. I'm in control of the situation.
Shelley Duvall gets a good clonker on him, and he falls down the stairs.
Right. Hell of a fall too by the stuntman.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
it really
pretty good.
was.
Yeah.
She drags him, which is completely unbelievable. She's probably
No,
like,
no,
what,
no, no.
100 and...
See, I thought that was believable because once again, you bitch about Stanley Kubrick's like taking forever
Right.
to do stuff. It did take forever to get her,
That's
Right.
true. She was moving him inch by inch.
But
by
she
Yeah.
weighs, what, like 37 pounds wet?
Well, that's what someone would do. I mean, she didn't just go, "Hi ho, it's
Yeah,
off
it's
to
not
the
like
freezer."
She
Yeah.
probably had breaks.
Yeah.
She's like dragging him along. Yeah, just gotta get that cigarette
Cigarettes.
smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like she threw him over her shoulder or anything like
That
that.
would have been awesome.
Okay, my problem with the freezer scene. What prevented her from opening the door? Did you ever see what? She kept trying the freezer door and it just
Yeah,
wouldn't
it
open.
just
There
wouldn't
wasn't like
open.
a lock or anything.
I didn't know.
It looked like the pin was in the door and
Because-
she couldn't figure out how to get it out.
Was that it?
I
Because
think
like
so.
in every suspenseful scene, you're like, "Oh yeah, there's a little pin that she didn't see. Gotta
Yeah.
move that first." Or she stuck the wrong key in the door and
Right.
she won't move. And this was just kind of, "I can't get it open. I can't get it open. I can't get it open." It opened.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
I'm
don't know.
curious. Did you find that a suspenseful scene in any way? Like her getting him into the... Because I've seen it so many times. I can't even tell anymore.
You do only for a split second when he opens his eyes. and
'Cause,
he's
yeah, he
starting to
starts
come
waking
to,
up.
Yeah.
and then you realize as an audience member, "Oh, it's about to go south now. Now she's hit him. He knows that she's hit him. He's going to be pissed, royally pissed now."
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That just kind of seemed to me like we just need to get him into the room as quickly as humanly possible.
Right.
But I thought she was gonna, like, the whole time I thought she was gonna put him in the freezer, and so I was like, oh god, he's gonna freeze to death, because I knew that happened eventually.
Was it
Oh.
a freezer? I thought it was just a locker.
It
Like,
was
it's-
just a locker, but I thought she was trying to put him
No, I
in a
thought it was
freezer.
a freezer.
No,
because it was the dry
It was
food
a dry
storage.
food, yeah,
Yeah.
with the Indian
with all the
stuff on it.
Calumet stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Because he ate all
Okay.
the Oreos.
Okay, all right.
So she locks him in the dry goods stuff, and there's this theory around this whole movie that goes back to a throwaway line told to him during the walk around, where they just happen to off the cuff mention that this place was built on a ancient Indian burial ground.
Right.
This is a throwaway line that nobody gives a shit about.
Right.
Everybody's just like, okay, what's this room? This looks interesting. When in reality, this would be like, wait a second.
Hold up. Back
I've
up.
seen the Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Well, no, you haven't yet.
Not
Not
at this
yet.
point.
2 years prior. Well, if you have The Shining, you've seen the Poltergeist.
Right. Shine the Poltergeist.
Yeah. They're not here yet.
So in the dry goods, when he's talking, there's all these shots of the Calumet baking powder that's everywhere in this fucking locker. The theory is that this was Stanley Kubrick trying to throw in some stuff about like the way that Indians were treated.
Right. There was some other stuff that I'd done a little bit of YouTube research on, where it was his way of saying that Americans overlook certain stuff, like the Native American atrocity. Like they talked about how he disdained TV, which is why you have that line thrown in at the beginning. Oh, he heard it. He saw it on TV because he had a problem with it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the Overlook Hotel itself was a statement. Overlook all this stuff. It was like an
Oh, I
underlying
see.
theme.
Was it not called Overlook in the book?
It was, so I don't buy that argument. But the other stuff I do buy. There's a real hotel where it was filmed, and they actually did a Ghost Hunters episode there and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And Stephen King himself said he had a ghost experience at the hotel.
It's actually
Really?
called the Stanley
The
Hotel.
Stanley Hotel.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's a 420-room colonial revival hotel in
Right.
Estes Park, Colorado.
Estes Park, Colorado. That's right.
So
Yeah.
up until this point, the ghosts have existed only in his head. Only in every single character's head, except for maybe Danny, who's been wrangled by somebody.
Well, he's got The Shining, so he can see all
Right.
these ghosts and
Right.
all this stuff.
But now, the ghost starts talking to Jack Nicholson, who's inside the dry storage, and he's like, "Well, you fucked up, didn't you?" And Jack Nicholson's like, "Give me one more chance," and the ghost does.
Okay, why is the ghost such a dick?
I know he was like egging him on for no reason.
I thought it was
Well, you
because
messed up. Why not just open the door and say, "Go get him"? She's there.
Yeah, encourage him a little bit.
Right.
Well, I think
Bad parenting all the way through.
I think
He's
the whole
getting
purpose
browbeaten from everywhere.
is to confuse you because this ghost interacts with a door.
Manifesting.
It
itself.
literally opens the door,
Right.
which is the first time you're like, okay, are the ghosts real? Or are all the ghosts fake?
Now you know the ghosts are real at this point.
Right. So he gets out. Oh, but not before letting Shelley,
Yeah. Go check it out.
letting her know that she's fucked.
I've got a
royally.
big surprise for you.
And then like he taps on the like.
You're not going anywhere.
I feel like this was desperation on Jack Nicholson's part. Like Stanley Kubrick's like, do it again, do it again, do it again. You're like, okay, well, I can't fucking do anything else except like tap on the fucking
Right.
door. Like he's trying anything. Do you like this? Do you like this?
Yeah.
Do you like this? What if I flip my nose up this way? What if I
Right.
fucking
I
rip
think-
this eyeball out?
I think
Let
it
me
worked,
out
though.
of this goddamn room.
Yeah,
I think it worked though because like he did look pretty crazy when he did it.
that's true. The sopping wet hair hanging
Yeah.
down in front of
He
his
looks crazy the entire film.
But I mean,
That's
like
true, but
when
especially crazy here.
yeah, like when he does that thing with his fingers, you're like, man, that's fucking crazy.
So he gets out and he starts getting through the hotel. At the same time, Scatman Crothers
Oh,
has bought plane tickets.
Right. He's denied his pornography room.
Right.
He leaves. He's called up there. No one's answering. He finally calls the National Park Service. They tell him, yeah, it's snowed in. You know, no one's getting up there. So he calls his buddy who works at the snowcat place, whatever, right, to rent a snowcat in order
Yeah.
to get through the snow to get up there. He spends all this time, effort, phone bill, energy, money, plane tickets for, what, a one-way flight, presumably.
I bet he got a round trip.
Yeah.
He probably got a round trip ticket for him and the other
Yeah,
two. Like,
seriously.
and her and the kid.
So he goes through all this. You have all these cut scenes of Jack Torrance manifesting an axe from no apparent
Right.
where in the entire
Right.
hotel.
There's got to be at least one axe in one of these rooms.
There's got to be a fire axe or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so you have all these different suspense scenes here or there. And then he finally...
Although, how the fuck does he know? Because he has not done shit in this entire hotel this entire time.
Oh, yeah.
How does he know where anything is?
Exactly. And just shit all over the book because the book's amazing. He spends the first quarter of the book in the cellar reading old newspapers from the hotel
That's
and stuff.
crazy.
He actually takes care of the boiler and actually does all this shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess we should mention the boiler. So
Yeah.
you said the boiler is a big part of the book.
It is the entire underlying theme of the whole book. It's like a ticking time bomb. Every scene, you're like, oh god, he's going crazy. Okay, yeah, you're after your family with a rope mallet, not an axe. You're after your family with a croquet stick, right? But the whole time it's like, okay, I know you're nuts. Go turn the boiler. Let the steam off the boiler, or you're all gonna die anyway.
So is this like the main reason that they have this caretaker is to like release the steam
Yes.
from this boiler?
yes,
That
So-
makes sense.
yeah.
In the movie, it amounts to one scene where Shelley Duvall has a clipboard and she pushes a button on a boiler,
Right.
and that's it.
yeah, to let the steam off.
Yeah.
That's it.
Meanwhile, Danny comes out of his coma
Right.
to write red rum on a door after repeatedly saying it. Shelley Duvall is a terrible mother, cannot hear him saying red rum the whole time he's saying it.
Right. She
Right.
sleeps through half of it.
She's awful.
He picks up a knife only to put it down.
Right.
Why did he pick up a knife?
She took it from him.
Was he only picking up the knife to like suggest to the audience that he's going to stab his mom?
What I think is this: after the billionth time I watched it, and it'll make total sense. What does she defend herself with? So it's not like red rum, murder, dun dun dun. No, it was foreshadow saying we are going to be murdered. Here's what I got. Defend us.
Okay, I can see
That
that.
makes
Gives his
sense.
mom the knife. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
So he writes red rum backwards on a door,
Right.
and then she sees that immediately when she wakes up in a mirror, and it says murder.
And this poor child is obviously dyslexic.
Dyslexic with a
Like
backward D.
half of his letters are backwards.
Yeah.
It's very sad. He already has
needs-
enough problems.
He needs a lot of help.
He does.
They run into their room and they lock it just in time for Jack Nicholson to show up with his axe.
Yeah.
Not a croquet mallet, but an axe.
So instead of hitting the door handle and knocking the door handle off and pushing the door open with his little toe, he decides to hack at the door about 47 times.
Well, if he
Yes.
didn't do that, he couldn't put his face through the hole.
That's true.
And then we would have no cover.
So not
We
only,
have no DVD.
not only does he do it to one door, he does
He
the
does it to two.
exact same
'Cause
way.
They retreat
to-
into the
yeah.
bathroom and lock
Right.
the door there
So there's a little tiny window inside the bathroom that she pushes Danny out
with ease.
with ease,
Yeah.
and then
It's
she
coded
attempts
into
to
it.
get through, but while it is very clear that she could possibly fit through, she has to act like she can't get through.
Oh, and I like how her son doesn't give a shit. He's like, "Well, I'm out."
He's
He
just-
doesn't run back up there. And
Mommy!
Mommy, nothing.
Mommy!
He just stands there. He's like,
He seems like kind of an emotionally detached kid. Like, he's not really particularly bothered by any of this.
a box. I called him earlier.
Yeah.
It's a
Cardboard box.
Right.
Cardboard box.
Jack Nicholson works his way through the door, only to have Shelley Duvall thwart him again, slicing his hand with her knife.
Right. And he makes the same facial expression he did when he was hit in the head.
Yes,
With the
he does.
Yeah.
This is the same moment that Scatman Crothers shows up.
Right. Hi, I'm black. Time for me to die in a movie.
I'm the only person that's
He's-
going to take any kind of anything from this
he
movie.
spends all this money, all this time, all this energy to get his round trip plane ticket to show up to the hotel and just to have and it's not even like subtle. It's not like he snuck up and hit him in the head. He just does a rebel yell.
Yeah.
Gets him right in the chest with it.
The only thing that would have made it better is if he had a dog that he was taking care of back at his house
Right.
that will never have anybody.
Scratch, scratch, scratch. The end.
That's very sad.
Of all the people that deserve to die in this film, he is the only one who doesn't.
Right.
And he's the only one who does get killed.
Yeah.
Danny hides in a kitchen, like,
Where they keep the pots and pans. Under
Yeah.
the
Yeah, like a
sinks and
cabinet.
stuff.
until after Scatman Crothers gets axed to death.
Right.
The only murder in the whole fucking film. And then he runs out into the maze.
That's why the red rum didn't have the S at the end.
Right, yeah. Shred rum! Shred rum! So Jack Nicholson chases him out into the maze. And while he's going out there, Shelley Duvall, who up to this point, this has been a normal hotel
Right.
with nothing supernatural happening, goes through a fucking haunted house of mystery maze.
Horrors.
Yes.
There's like skeletons.
Yeah,
laying
the
around.
most crazy horrors you can think of, like a man blowing another man
In a
Ooh!
bear costume. Yeah.
Or how about a person with a head wound
Yeah.
toasting you. Ooh!
Oh, this is a lovely party, isn't it?
And then you have blood coming out of an elevator
Yes.
in slow motion.
And it makes no, and you see the blood in the elevator about 4 times throughout the whole
Yes.
movie.
Yeah.
And it never explains.
It's one of the
it.
first
No.
things you see when you
Right.
meet Danny.
Right. That's what he makes him pass out.
Yeah.
Originally,
Right.
he's brushing his teeth and he sees the elevator full of blood.
Oh,
And
the
Tony
amount of
shows
money they
up.
dumped into this shot. Oh.
We have to use it over and over again.
So she's experiencing all the things that prove to her that this is in fact not her husband's fault. She was right to stay around this obviously abusive motherfucker
Right.
because it was just the ghost that got him.
Right.
So she's
I'm
probably
gonna go ahead and say no.
she's probably off to a life where she finds another asshole and will take her to another hotel because she didn't learn her lesson from this.
Yep.
Or she didn't learn the lesson of her husband being an asshole to begin with.
The Shining Part 2, the alimony.
She gets remarried. So in the maze, Danny proves that he is not a complete idiot,
Right.
and he masters the art of deception.
Backtracking his footprints.
He backtracks his footprints through the
And then
maze.
dusting over the
Yeah.
footprints. So you
Gets
don't know
down.
which path he took.
Like, this is something he's done often.
Well, he's a Navy SEAL.
This-
you know. Or
maybe
he's an Indian warrior.
maybe this is how, because if he only broke his arm once, maybe it's because usually Danny's faster
Right.
and he's good at hiding
Yeah.
at places.
Or he had seen 101 Dalmatians, where they
Yeah.
do all of the little feet
That's
prints.
maybe
with the-
Disney
with the
is
twig.
to thank for that.
Very smart.
But in the best scene of the entire movie, Jack looks to the left when he's lost Danny, and he gets this like giant smile on his face, like he knows something, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I know. I know. He gets the look on his face like, I've got him.
It's like a nod to the audience, like I know exactly where Danny is. I'm gonna toy with him for a second, and then I'm gonna chop his head off.
But he has no idea where
He's
Danny
got
is.
nothing.
And he loses his voice immediately.
Yeah, and then he freezes to death. He freezes to death.
Super quickly.
But if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
if you're the ghosts,
Oh no,
who-
it's like Mr. Freeze. He just immediately freezes to death.
if you're the ghosts who haunt the Overlook, why wouldn't you also be like, hey, Danny's over there.
He's over here. Hey, get the defroster, boys. Let's go get him.
He's not dead.
There's generators, I'm sure. Let's get this bitch started, defrost this motherfucker. Let's
We've
go get
unlocked the door. Now get the blowtorch.
him. And ridicule him again. You failed twice now.
So this leaves Shelley Duvall and Danny to run to the
Snowcap,
that
that's Scatman Crothers' only role in the entire movie. Let's say they never met. Let's say he never explained The Shining, because you didn't really have to, because you just kind of get it. He
Right.
talks to his finger and all this other shit,
Right.
so you already know he's got
because he lives in
something.
his mouth.
Right. Well, you already know all that. So his only sole purpose in this entire movie was to bring him a snowcat so that they could leave.
Also, because he shines so well,
Right.
he had no idea that Jack Nicholson was waiting around that column.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had no idea that
No,
Danny was
you
hiding
can
in that
multitask.
room.
You can give directions. You can give a tour of the whole kitchen while asking Danny about ice cream. You can hear different states away, halfway across the
Yeah,
continent.
something's
Right.
wrong.
That some
Yeah.
shit's hitting the fan, but you don't know that he's around the corner with an axe.
It's not even that dark of a room. He probably like could see an outline behind that column.
Yeah.
Like, is that the glimmer of an axe back there? Let me just wander towards that, saying things.
Or no weapon, none. There's some evil shit going on. Let's just walk in there
Something.
in a coat and a
Right.
parka.
Something made you pick up that phone. Something made you buy those tickets.
Right.
Something made you rent
Wouldn't
that
you at least
scat.
have, like a knife or something?
Or bring a second person.
Yeah.
Yeah, a
Bring a
buddy.
You
buddy.
know,
Buddy
the
system.
state police. There's a murderer in here. Why not we just go with the shields and everything?
He calls-
come in
He
here.
That's
calls
what I
back
was
and he's
thinking.
like, "Hey, I rented you guys a snowcat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to watching porn.
Like, why is
Let
he-
me know how that happens."
It's like, I get why Jack is covering up for the hotel because he works for him, quote unquote. He works for the hotel. He's their minion.
Mhm.
Why does he have to cover up The Shining? Scatman Crothers.
Yeah, that's
Why does he
really
have
weird.
to cover that up? He's not revealing anything mystical. He's not giving away the secret magic. There is a crazy motherfucker killing people.
Right.
Oh, I talked to him on the phone and I heard the child screaming.
Yeah.
You make it up.
Yeah.
And then say, get the cops out.
Yeah.
Well, see, this is my problem with like literally every horror movie ever. Is that all
National.
of it can be solved by just like calling the police.
That's it. Or like
That's what you
the
have to
National
do.
Park Service, right? We don't give a fuck. We called them. We talked to her. She was fine once. And then months later, we're trying to get a hold of her. And no one's answering. Fuck it. It's cold out there.
We can't get up there.
Right.
He gets one snowcat and he's like suddenly got
Just
the solution.
worthless. They must get no paychecks. Yeah, they just must not care at all.
Or it was the 70s. Everybody was kind of lackadaisical, maybe.
That's true.
I don't know. Was that before or after Satanic Panic where everybody got nuts?
I
It
thought it was the
before,
80s.
because that was the 80s.
Yeah.
80s. Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on this movie? Any other things from the book that we need to know?
No.
Now, I know
You should read the
you
book.
love the second movie, the TV movie.
The TV movie, yes. I love the TV movie because it was more along the lines of the book. It was Stephen King's original adaptation. Because Stephen King wrote the original screenplay for The Shining.
Yep.
And when Kubrick called him and said, good, I wrote it. He goes, yeah, but I want to do my own thing. I want to do not the book.
Right.
And took it. So years later, 1997, he goes, okay, I'll do a made-for-TV, like miniseries, 6-part miniseries. And it's good. It's got good acting. Even Danny's awesome. Wendy's awesome. Like, the characters are real there. You don't have the hedge maze, you have hedge animals, which were in the book. And they seemed kind of like, as a little kid, you'd turn around and be like, is it creeping up on me? And you'd turn around and it'd be moving closer and stuff.
Yeah.
They did a bad idea with it. They should have just left that out because it was really corny CGI. But, I mean, other than that, yeah, they had the bee stings and all this other stuff.
Those were the biggest problems with the miniseries is that Stephen King did.
He has to do the book. And some stuff doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
He still could have done a good job and just...
What was the worst one? I think, was it Langoliers?
Langoliers was really bad.
That was the airport one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Great
the worst.
story.
The worst
Great
one is
story.
Langoliers because there's so much CGI in a
Right.
time that CGI was barely usable.
Right.
But yeah.
It was just awful. The story was really good, though.
Is The Mist his?
Yep.
Yes.
Because we watched The Mist.
Frank Darabont.
Yeah.
And that...
Frank Darabont did
The Mist. He did
Shawshank Redemption
The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile.
and Green Mile.
The Mist was the saddest movie I've ever seen in my whole life.
It
I
doesn't-
thought I was
the
gonna
story-
die.
The story doesn't end that way.
Yeah?
The story ends with him driving into the mist.
Oh.
So at the very end of the movie, where you see like his wife all pinned up to the side of the house and eaten and all this stuff, they
Yeah.
see all this stuff. It just never ends. They're trying to find. It leaves you kind of like a zombie apocalypse. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna need gas and food eventually. It's like they're not ever driving out of it. It's like it's taken over all of the continental U.S.
Yeah.
That's the way the book ends. They're doing a TV miniseries based on the
Yep.
Mist coming up pretty soon.
Oh, that's cool.
Which I'm sure will be terrible.
Yeah, I don't remember who's picking that one up.
Because Under the Dome was a fantastic book. It's
For the
like,
first season, it was pretty good.
It got weird towards the end.
it had nothing to do with the book whatsoever. I read Under the Dome.
It was
I
like a.
couldn't put it down. It was so fucking good.
I read Under the Dome too, but I also read
Yeah.
Cell.
Yeah, Cell was amazing.
The movie? We did the Cell as one of our movies.
You did.
It Oh was
my
What did I
God.
send you in Facebook
Yeah.
messages?
It was
I can't
terrible.
believe because Cell is still one of my favorite Stephen
Yeah.
King books of all time.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books of all time.
And then fucking turned into Power Beanie movie.
Well,
It's
John
the first
Cusack
Stephen King
took
book
over it.
ever. Well, John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson,
Yeah.
they were in 1408. Great movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great movie. And when I saw they were going to be in Cell, I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. It was boring.
Let
And
me ask you a question. Is Samuel L. Jackson's character a real person in the book?
Yes. Well, the real person in the book that he plays is a gay man.
Okay. So, because in the movie, it kind of seems like Samuel L. Jackson and the girl could just be figments of his imagination.
No.
Because
they're real.
no one else
yes,
interacts
no one else
with them
interacts
ever.
with him
Yeah.
at all.
They
Yeah.
always just talk to
It's
John
just
Cusack.
low budget. They tried to, not just based on Stephen King, let's get rich. They didn't even try.
It was
really
terrible.
sad.
There's so much like.
It hurts my heart. I mean, seriously, like, because it's such a good
It
book.
was
Yeah.
so bad. Any other thoughts from you?
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
fun.
Do you
Appreciate
want to plug your book?
Sure. I have a book of short stories. It's called It's Getting Dark. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it in paperback or Kindle. Not in hardback because I'm nothing. Go
But do you want to read a section?
I can if you want me to.
Sure.
This story is called Eating Disorder. Part 1. It takes an enormous amount of willful determination to disallow your body's natural gag reflex and continue to eat.
but that's what Pam was going to do. Pam walked into Sherry's Country Kitchen in Denfield, Texas on the cloudless spring morning and was seated at a booth nearest the entrance. She started out with an appetizer of Texas chili cheese fries and fried onion rings. She swallowed this down with a half-gallon of unsweet tea. She then ordered Sherry's Texas-sized bacon burger, 3 patties, mayo, 5 strips of bacon, cheese, tomato, onion, and lettuce, between 2 gigantic slices of buttered toast. She ate all of it. She dipped a fat finger into the excess ketchup on her plate and then slid her finger across the plate, picking up every last crumb, and then she licked her finger. The tangy saltiness of it made her shake. When the waitress asked her if she would like any dessert, Pam replied, "Dessert? Honey, I haven't even started to eat." To Pam, this wasn't brunch. This was suicide.
That was very nice. That's very sad about her van.
Yes. Yeah, I had problems losing weight. Because apparently you have to eat less and work out.
And you don't like either one of those two options.
Yeah, so I was eating and working out, but not eating less. So I wasn't losing any weight. So then I started eating less and working out, and then I've lost like 10 pounds. But I was so pissed off and frustrated. I remember like on Facebook and stuff, I was venting. I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to eat myself to death. Nom, 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 and just die. I don't care anymore. And that's where that came from.
All right,
That's
if anybody
cool.
wants to get a hold of that book.
If anyone wants the book, you can Google M as in Mary, A as in Adam, Rushing, M-A Rushing. Anytime you can go to Amazon.com and search for It's Getting Dark or my name. Or Kindle, you can also look for it at Barnes & Noble's website.
And how much is it going for?
Oh, $15 on paperback, and I think $10 on Kindle.
Cool. Thanks for coming.
No, thanks for
Yeah,
having
we
me. I
appreciate you
it,
sitting
yeah.
in this super hot
You-
building
helped-
with
Hey,
us.
thanks for coming back to Texas in the
You-
102-degree index.
We've
You've
not
added some.
been. Oh, go ahead.
You've added some expertise to our talk
Well,
about this movie.
Just because I'm a nerd and I like to,
Yes, you
I
have
like
more.
to read a lot.
What is it? Bona fides?
Bona fide, yeah, sure.
We can't say words.
He's bona fide.
It's a bona fide asshole. Thanks to Brian Tuzio for our
You,
theme
you
song.
do it every time.
Did I do it again?
Brandon
Brandon
Tuzio.
Tuzio.
It's awesome though. The music.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, it's
He's
so cool.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So
Yeah.
thanks to Brandon Tuzio for our theme song. If you want to get hold of us, it's at scaredycat.com. What is
At
that?
Scaredy Cat
That's
Pod
nothing.
on all the stuff.
Until next time, adios muchachos.
Bye.